Probably be the last time you'll see the 120 watts of solar up there. So right now the 340 watt panels I just have sitting here on the ground, resting against a pallet. And in behind I have the spare batteries under this container just to be kept out of the rain. So yeah, I just have each individual panel hooked on each battery, you can see. And they're just basically on a trickle charge. And this is just temporary until I have them set up where I want them set up. But that way they're just kind of charging all the time, and when one is needed for a transfer pump or what have you, you just come and grab it and go. So the reason the other panels are off the roof is because this 330 watt panel was just installed up here last Sunday. So the 330 watt panel was purchased back in January, and the plan was to just make sure it was on the roof before this coming winter. So finally last Sunday we had a good day. Sunny, it was warm, like 16 degrees Celsius, so got that installed, and yeah, it's been running great. This way it more than doubles the solar power coming in, which is going to be better in the winter when, you know, there's far less sun and it's kind of lower in the sky. But yeah, that's 330 watts. The other panels that were up there totaled 120, so yeah, more than doubles the solar power, which is going to be awesome. So the 3 batteries that are hooked onto the camper, which you can see with the alligator clips there, they're hooked up to the new solar panel, and I'll take you inside and show you what the charge controller setup looks like. So the charge controller and the display we have set up in here. I took down the blinds, so probably a little bright in here. So behind the couch, I don't know if you can actually, no, you're not going to be able to see it. Anyway, there's a hole in the wall behind the couch there that you can't really see, it's hidden. That the solar panel cables and everything are going through. But yeah, this is a 40 amp charge controller. I decided to go with the biggest one. I think you can get 20 amp and 30 amp, but the 40 amp, just, I don't know, go big or go home. It kind of allows more, what am I trying to say here? I guess if you want to expand your solar, it allows for that more so than a 20 amp maybe would, or a 30 amp. So I went with the biggest one. This controller is probably like 12 inches long. It's pretty heavy duty. And here's the display. It's hooked to the charge controller, but this is mainly what I check. I don't know, it's going to be hard for you to see that, but so right now the sun is somewhat laying on the panel, and it's 13.7 volts, my battery, and 1.1 amp coming in, I guess, from the panel, 3 amps into the battery. Not entirely sure how to read these things, but I'm gonna have to do some reading for sure. But you see the happy face? That's a good sign, and the battery's full. This one here, this one's really hard to see on camera. I guess you can kind of see that. Select. Kind of goes through different settings. 13.7 volts on the battery right now. The sun's laying on the panel at the moment. It was cloudy earlier. 22 degrees, so that's the temperature in here. You can kind of see right here it says temp sensor. It came with that little temperature sensor. Just plugs in there, gives you the temperature reading of the room. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what this is for. I'm not using it. I don't need to use it. I'm gonna read up on that and see. I think it might be for a different kind of setup, but I'm only using the battery and the solar panel ones because obviously this camper's hooked up to the batteries, so yeah, that's the setup. Display and charge controller. So the charge controller and the display came together. I think they were purchased off of Amazon, maybe eBay, one of the two. Back in January also, the same time the solar panel was purchased. So it's been a long time coming for these things to be set up, because it's now October. But it's set up, it's ready for winter, so that should make a huge difference with the power. Like I said, the solar power is now more than doubled, so I think they were roughly, this setup I think was roughly 200 Canadian with tax, and the solar panel was 330 plus tax, so it was $1 a watt because it's a 330 watt panel. So you can't really ever complain when you can find solar for $1 a watt. So yeah, these two cables here, and you can kind of see, or maybe it won't. There we go. This is the positive, this is the negative, and these two cables here go directly to the solar panel. And then these cables here, positive and negative, go directly to the batteries outside. So this is the brand, it's an MPPT solar charge controller. That's the brand right there. And like I said, I have some research to do. I don't know a whole lot about solar, so I've got some reading to do. I have the booklets for both the charge controller and the display. There's a menu in the display that has all kinds of things, so definitely have to read up on all of that. So the plan is to eventually have the other three 40 watt panels on that side of the roof, and I'll just come around and kind of show you what I mean. So kind of want to have them set up on this side so that the cables can come down the back side of the camper, and can have a little battery box for the spare batteries back here. That way it's easier just to grab one and go when you need it for the transfer pump or what have you. So eventually that'll be the plan, but for now they're just gonna sit on the ground. So yeah, the next project will be getting this 3000 watt inverter hooked up inside the camper as well, just to run, you know, charge devices, run a hairdryer, that sort of thing inside. Charge laptop. So yeah, that's it. That's the new solar setup. Pretty pumped to more than double the solar power, especially with winter coming. So we'll have to see how it goes this winter anyway. That'll be the real test. Like I said, I know I'll have to climb up there on a step ladder and brush the snow off, but no biggie. Did that all last year. So yeah, it'll definitely be nice to get the 3000 watt inverter installed in here, because right now, still just using this 12 volt plug that I have running through the hatch under the window here to charge devices and stuff. I mean, it works, right? It's worked so far, but it'll be nice to have the inverter hooked up for that. I mentioned in a previous video about my balance test being in October. So that was yesterday, and I got my learner's license. So I'm pretty pumped about that. I took it for a spin yesterday, legally, finally. So maybe I'll take you guys with me, just try to charge up my action cam. Take you for a drive down. See, this is when that 12 volt plug comes in handy when you don't want to turn on the generator. Charging up my action cam, and then we'll go for a spin.